Hello and welcome. This is National Master Steve Colding with our second installment of How to Beat Your 10-year-old at Chess. And this section is called How Not to Drop Your Pieces. Do you find yourself missing things on the chessboard? Do you sacrifice your pieces by mistake? Do you send all your pieces to a watery grave? If you have no idea what you're supposed to be looking at or what to see, well, this video is for you. The number of moves on the chessboard is said to be almost infinite, 10 to the 120th power, which is even more complaints than I get from my mother-in-law. Think about it. A computer that thinks 3 billion moves a second cannot come up with all the possibilities that are on the chessboard. Computers that think 3 billion moves a second also lose the game. So how is it for us normal people who can't calculate, who can't do anything? What do we look for? Well, that's what we're going into, and we're going to show you just what you're supposed to do. The very first thing we need to do before starting any chess game is to get our minds right. We need to sit down and take stock of everything we're doing and everything we're thinking about and get our minds in the proper frame to conduct this mental and tough battle. You know, those 10-year-olds, they're really a tricky bunch. There are 5 things we need to do in order to keep our minds right. Keep perspective, be honest, take our time, concentrate, and relax. On winning and losing. Winning in chess is a wonderful thing. We're happy, we jump around, we dance, and we're feeling really good about ourselves. But losing can sometimes make us feel not as great. But in actual fact, losing is a very important part of the game. If you were never to lose a game of chess, you would know everything and you would beat everybody and you wouldn't need this video. But no one in the world, not even the world champion, not the toughest computer you can find, they all lose at chess. So losing is a part of chess. And not only that, losing is a very valuable part. When we lose, we learn something about ourselves, our opponents, and about our game. That's how we improve. By losing at chess, not by winning. So, losing at chess, unlike most other games, which is a foul, disgusting, awful thing to lose, but at chess, when we lose, we win because we learn more about ourselves. The road to improvement in chess is a marathon and not a sprint. In chess, a sacrifice is when we give up something on purpose. We usually give up a pawn, a piece, or whatever in order to get something of value somewhere else. However, a blunder is when we didn't mean to give up something. And so we must be honest with ourselves. Sometimes a blunder can turn into a great sacrifice, but sometimes a sacrifice can turn into a lousy blunder. What we need to do is be honest about our intent. If we blunder regardless of if it works out or not. And if we sacrifice regardless of if it works or not. Okay, so be honest with yourself, because if you're not, you're only fooling yourself. We need to take our time in chess, and I like to use a simple phrase: if we do not look, we will not see. You must take the time out to look at the board. Chess is a game of absolute information, and being such, that means that nothing is hidden. Everything is there on the board, but we need time in order to figure it out. Concentration is key in the game of chess, and chess players have been known to perform great feats of concentration. But the point is to be focused on your game, to remove any distractions, remove anything that might impede your ability to think about the position. So we must be willing to concentrate and concentrate thoroughly on the position. And this is probably the most important one of all. Relax. The mind works best when it relaxes. In the middle of a chess game, we can experience many emotions. Happiness, usually when we win. Sadness, more often, if you're like me, when you lose. Excitement, nervousness, and many other emotions are typical in a chess game. These can be useful if we are aware of them. They can spur us on to creative achievement. The trick is to use the emotions and not let them use us. It is easy to get carried away in the heat of battle, but remember, keep your head when all others are losing theirs. It is a person who can control themselves that will be better able to see at the chessboard. The time for celebration or sadness is after the game. During the game, you should be as cool as James Bond is when he's disarming a nuclear device. Imagine what would happen if the super spy during these tense moments ran around in a circle yelling, "I can't cope, I can't cope." No, he keeps his cool, and because of this, the free world can survive another day. There are many things we can do at the board in order to cope with our nervousness or our emotions that get out of control. Some suggestions are take a deep breath, walk away from the board for a minute, drink something, eat something, watch something, think of a joke, do a yoga stretch, or anything else you can think of. Now that we have our minds right, there are certain things that we should be looking for at the chessboard. There are certain things we should always be looking for on the chessboard. A checklist of the things that we need to be looking for are: 1. We need to keep count of everything going on the board. Number 2, on pre. Number 3, taking an important piece. Number 4, more attackers than defenders. Number 5, forks. Number 6, pin and skewers. And number 7, discovery. It is very important for us to keep track of how many pieces are on the board. How much we have, are we ahead, are we behind, how much we need to catch up if we are behind, and various other aspects of the count of the chess pieces. If we're up a rook, then most likely we're winning, unless our opponent had a devastating sacrifice. Remember, sometimes we can sacrifice, but did they blunder? We shall do a quick review of the value of the pieces so that you can keep count if you're not aware of what they are. Okay, the king is worth the entire game. You cannot play without the king. So therefore, we don't usually use the king in calculating what the value is or keeping count. Queens are worth 9 points. Bishops are worth 3.25, 3¼ points. Knights are worth the same, 3¼ points. Rooks are worth 5 points, and pawns are worth 1. By adding and subtracting these from our board and adding and subtracting it from our opponent's side, we can then determine if we're winning or losing. How many points do we need to win the game? Well, the answer is only 1. Look at the diagram and then try to determine who is ahead. Pause the video. Black is ahead by 1.75 points. Did you get it? There are 3 methods in which to count the chess pieces. Number 1 is count what's on the board. When there's a lot of pieces on the board, we probably wouldn't want to do this because it's a lot to count. But when there are few pieces on the board, then that's the right time to count what is on the board. So counting on the board is great for endgames when there are only a few pieces on the board. Another quick way Number two is to compare pieces. What we do is we say, they have a rook, we have a rook. They have a knight, we have a knight. And we keep comparing until we find out what we have that they don't have. In our example, the white had a knight for black's rook. And so therefore we were able to subtract 5 from 3.25, which leaves us the answer 1.75. And the third and final method is count what comes off the board, and this is by far the quickest method unless there's a lot of pieces off the board, and then we would resort to method 1. We should also be looking for chess tactics in our chess positions. A chess tactic is a move or a series of moves which lead to some kind of game. There are very many chess tactics in chess, but what we are going to concern ourselves are just the few basic ones that you should be looking for all the time over the board. The very first chess tactic we will be talking about is emprise. Emprise. It's a French word which means intake, and it's pronounced emprise. However, the Americans, as we tend to do, we take a word and we make our own, and most Americans pronounce it emprise, even though it is really supposed to be pronounced emprise. I'm going to tell you, pronounce it any way you want, any way that you makes you feel comfortable. All chess players will know what you mean. Emprise means that the piece is in take. That means that you can take a piece. Pieces that are emprise are also called hanging pieces, which means they are there for you just to take. All you have to do is be able to see that the piece is free for you to take. So remember this, emprise or emprise means free. Emprise means free. Here's a problem for you. Do you see which white piece is emprise? Do you see which black piece is emprise? Well, take your time and look, and the answer will be given to you shortly. Stop the video now. Okay, in this position, if it's white, the free white piece that white can take is the pawn on a6. As for black, he can take the bishop with the pawn on a6. Did you see that? Well, if you did, then you're on your way to solving a great many emprise problems. When people first start out, this is their biggest problem, that they cannot see that simple pieces are hanging. If you like that problem, you might be interested in our upcoming book, 200 Emprise Problems, compiled and created by yours truly. The next chess tactic we will be looking at is that of taking a greater piece. Now, the pieces are not of the same value. Some are worth more than the others. So here what we're looking for is a good deal. If a pawn can take a queen, well then, that's a great deal, because even if our pawn is taken, we only lose 1 point, whereas if we get the queen, we get 9 points. So we are up for 8 points. And so we're always looking for good deals like that. Always looking to see if we can get a pretty good deal. It's not free, but it's still pretty good. Okay, so here's another problem for you. What piece should white take? If you need to, stop the video and take a second. Okay, the piece that white should take is he should take the queen. Bishop takes queen. The bishop's worth 3, even though it can be taken back, but the queen is worth 9. So 9 minus 3 is 6. That's a pretty good deal for white. But let's suppose it is now black's move. This is a little more difficult. Well, black could take the bishop with the pawn, right? And he would be up, if the pawn gets taken back, he would be up 2. That's a good deal. But black can profit even more by taking the rook first with the knight check. And then when the queen takes back, that gives him +2. And then he can take the bishop with the pawn. And that would give him another +2. So he would actually be up +4 as opposed to +2 from the other side. Okay, so this is how we look at taking a greater piece. The next tactic we're looking at is attacking something more times than it's defended. In order to win something, usually we need to attack it one more time than it is defended. In other words, if something is defended 3 times, we need to attack it 4 times. More attackers than defenders. I want you to pause the video right now and try to see what pieces are attacking a point more than that point is defended. I want you to look very carefully. Okay, the point that is being attacked is the point e5. The knight on e5 is being attacked more than once. How many times is the knight on e5 defended, and how many times is the knight on e5 attacked? Pause the video. Okay, the knight on e5, and let's see if you got this right. The knight on e5 is being protected 5 times, but it is being attacked 6 times. Check this out for yourself, just to make sure that I have it right. Our 4th tactic is called forks. A fork is when one piece attacks 2 or more pieces. Queens and knights are especially powerful forkers. All the pieces on the chessboard can fork. Here, pause the video and look at the diagrams below, which shows you an example of all the pieces forking. Next up are 2 tactics. One is a pin and one is a skewer. In our first diagram, notice that the bishop is attacking the white queen, and the white queen cannot move because then the white king will be in check. So notice that the more important piece is behind the less important piece, the queen being the less important piece and the king being the more important piece. Now, a skewer is when the more important piece is attacked and has to move, and the less important piece is captured, like in diagram number 2. The king is in check. Once the king moves, the bishop will capture the queen. And so that's the difference between pins and skewers. They're very similar, but they're the opposite of each other. The last chess tactic we will be discussing is called the discovery. Discovery is one of the strongest attacks in chess, and this is how it works. Look at diagram 1. In diagram 1, it's white to move, and white has a rook and bishop versus a queen. Now normally this would be like a draw, or white would have a very tough time drawing the game. But in this position, look at white's rook. White's rook would be checking the black king if the bishop wasn't in front of it. But this is a very fortuitous thing for white, because now the bishop can move, and when the bishop moves, it moves with check. Now, when the bishop moves, where should it move? Well, it should move to a square where it attacks the biggest thing. And what's the biggest thing? The black queen. So, we take the bishop and we place it on the square c4, check, as in diagram 2. And since the king is in check, he must get out of check, and when he does, the bishop will take the queen. And that is a discovery, where you attack 2 things at once. Now we need to sum everything up on how to see in chess. 1, we need to get our minds right. And what does that mean? That means keeping perspective on winning and losing. That means being honest with ourselves. That means making sure that we're concentrating making sure that we are relaxed and that we are taking our time. And what should we look for on the chessboard? Well, we should keep count of all the pieces. We should look for the free piece or anything that is en prise. We should look about taking a greater piece. We should look if something is we have more attackers than defenders on the point. And we should also be looking for pins, forks, skewers, and discoveries. So now you should have an idea of what to see when you deal within chess. Let's see. We learned how to talk. We learned what we should see. And next we're going to deal with chess strategy. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, remember our company, Chess for Children. We make children smarter. Okay? And if you like us on Facebook, on YouTube, or wherever you see this video, okay? And send us emails. Send us your email address, because we're going to start, very soon we're going to start a monthly blog post where we'll send stuff, answer your questions and all that kind of stuff. So this is Master Steve Colding, wishing you very, very good chess. Beat your 10-year-old. Let us know, okay? So anyway, we're signing off right now, and we hope you have a very, very good time.